Hey everyone, today we're going to discuss something that's really imperative for players of all skill levels, but I'm sure this will mostly apply to beginners. Today we're going to talk about rhythm and strumming, and really the best approaches to take at the very beginning. But if you can stick with me to the end, I'll show you how what we're working on today is not just for beginners and intermediates, it's something that you can apply to more advanced strum patterns as well. First, let's define a couple of things that we're going to be talking about. Most of what we're going to talk about today, probably everything actually, is going to be in 4/4 time. In other words, 4 beats in a measure. What that simply means is we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So when we're talking about learning how to strum and how to break strumming down into pieces, we're just going to do it in the context of 4 beats. All music has a pulse to it, whether or not you actually hear a drum being played or some other percussive instrument. It has a beat, and so that's what we're going to use today. So if you're trying to strum a song that has no drums to it, don't worry, we're going to count it out. Let's talk about how to break down a measure. So I mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4 as our count. Those are the downbeats. Those are the strong beats of the measure, and we are always going to strum down on those numbers. That means, let's just grab a C chord here. I'm going to play a chord on each one of the downbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice though, with my right hand, what was happening. As I strum the chord, I obviously have to bring the hand back up to hit the next downbeat. So this is imperative to all strumming. You need to keep your right hand, or left hand if you're a lefty, keep it moving. Too many times when people are learning how to strum and learning basic rhythms, we do everything as a downstroke. You need to get the motion down first, like this, so that you're comfortable, and only putting down the pick or your fingers when appropriate. So let's talk about breaking up the measure further. So instead of us just playing quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to break that down into eighth notes. And we're going to count it this way. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That would be eighth notes. It doesn't mean that the strum pattern you're going to play necessarily has eighth notes in it, but we want to create that movement with our strumming hand. So let's work that into our playing here. So we're going to do a C chord and we'll play eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I will say too, I should mention this, when you do an upstroke on the guitar, you do not have to come back and hit all the strings that you were fretting. Many times people will only hit about 3 of the strings. 3 or 4, something like that, but don't feel like you have to drag the pick all the way up in order to do that. So initially we have this idea of us playing eighth notes down, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty much all strum patterns are simply variations of that. Of course there are other weird things out there, but we're talking about the majority of what you're going to encounter. So if you are playing something that is based in 4/4 time, you are going to have some configuration of quarters and eighths in the strum pattern. Let's play a combination of quarter notes and eighth notes together, and we want to keep our right hand moving, and obviously that helps you keep time as well. So let's do it together here. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 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 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Keep that right hand moving, and you're building that habit that we want to have. What if we take that strum pattern and speed it up now? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. It's starting to sound like something that's more musical. Let's continue further down the rabbit hole and play something that doesn't necessarily have a chord on every downbeat. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. So down, down, up, up, down. Now, if you're having a problem counting that, certainly make sure that you do it very slowly. You can break down almost any rhythm. I've broken down super complex rhythms by taking them down to next to nothing tempo-wise, and then I'm able to kind of work on very small sections of them and get it working. You can always clap them out or tap them out if you want. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4, and then apply it. But above all, slow it down if it's not working for you, and you'll get it. The strum pattern that we just did, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, that may be one of the most common strum patterns you're ever going to see. And obviously, if you're trying to imitate a strum pattern from a song, and say that you can't necessarily hear exactly what the guitar is doing because of all the other instruments or whatever, you can certainly use a strum pattern that sounds close, and that's usually good enough. I'm not saying we're trying to cut corners, but many times you just can't tell exactly what the artist recorded. That strum pattern right there is one that people use all the time for situations like that, for sure. But we can add to it. Let's do the same strum pattern. We're just going to add one more note. It's going to be like this: down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Together. Let me play it a little faster for you now. Something I should mention with a strum pattern like that where you're hitting the 8th note at the very end, I understand when you start to change chords, that makes things a little dicey to get there and then hit the first beat of the next measure. That's okay. One thing that you'll have to work on as well when you're doing strum patterns is to lift off with your left hand and get it moving to the next chord. So many times that 8th note on beat 4 suffers from either not being hit, or you hit it like this with open strings. Let me just demo what I'm talking about there. Down, down, up, down. I'm sure you've seen that before, and once you kind of get it up to speed, you don't hear it as much. Listen to what I'm talking about. A big part of that, of course, is I'm keeping my right hand going down, up, down, up, down, up the whole time, which not only is important for the strum pattern, but it's important to help you maintain time. So your time feel is much better that way, instead of doing a lot of downstrokes and never really focusing on keeping your hand and wrist moving constantly. Pretty much all strum patterns can be worked on in this method, where you break it down by 8th notes and you keep your downstrokes on 1, 2, 3, 4, and your upstrokes on the and in between those notes. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I'll show you how some people can use this method to break down even more complex strum patterns. Something on the order of... Okay, there's a couple of things going on there. I am keeping my right hand moving like I said I would. I'm also doing a lot of this, a lot of muting, and I'm doing it with my left hand. When you strum, many times you are going to do some palm muting, string muting, that sort of thing with the right hand, but also people will do left hand muting. So it just depends on the pattern. But let me take a pattern like that, especially if I played it faster. If I play it faster like that, it sounds sort of complex to the ear. But once you've grasped this method that we've been working on, it's not that bad. Let's slow it down, and I'm going to play it super slow now. And what I've done is I've played a pattern across 2 measures instead of just 1. But it's the same idea. Break everything down into eighth notes and you'll see what I mean. Let me play it slowly for you so you can hear what's happening. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that was 2 measures. I'll do it one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'll speed it up a little now. It's hard for me to count that when I do speed it up though, so here we go. The important thing is that you hear, okay, it's a strum pattern that sounds more complex, but it's exactly what you've just done, maybe even as a beginner guitarist. You can understand the concept. I'll speed it up. And finally, a little faster. I hope this was a help to you in understanding how to break down strum patterns better and how to really just practice this on your own. Also, as you listen to music and you try to figure out strum patterns from other artists, you will notice that they jump out a little more at you. Once you've done this concept, it makes a little more sense. You can kind of hear what's happening. And as I said, if you just can't figure it out because there's too many other things on the track that you're listening to that you just can't make out the strum pattern, play something that is complementary to the track. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure to hit the like button. It really does help my channel. Please subscribe if you'd like, and let me know in the comments if you worked on this and if it was helpful. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you all next time.